You've probably heard it 1,000 times. Iran wants to destroy Israel. It's a headline that grabs your attention, sounds terrifying, and seems straightforward. But what if I told you the story is far more complex than that? What if I told you that for decades, Iran and Israel were actually allies? It sounds unbelievable, right? Well, today, we're going to unravel the history that almost nobody explains. A story of friendship, betrayal, and a revolution that changed everything. This isn't just about geopolitics. It's about understanding the real why behind one of the world's most dangerous rivalries. Let's turn back the clock to the 1950s. The world looked very different. Israel was a young, isolated nation, surrounded by Arab states that had just tried to wipe it off the map in 1948. It desperately needed friends. And on the other side of the Arab world was Iran, a non-Arab Persian nation ruled by the Shah Mohammad Reza. Like Israel, Iran felt surrounded and threatened by powerful Arab neighbors, especially Egypt under the charismatic Gamal Abdel Nasser, who was promoting pan-Arab nationalism. This shared sense of being an outsider created a powerful bond. They had a common enemy, and in international politics, that's often the strongest glue. Israel saw Iran as a crucial strategic partner, a source of oil, and a counterbalance to Arab power. Iran, in turn, saw Israel as a source of advanced military technology, agricultural expertise, and intelligence training. It was a classic "the enemy of my enemy is my friend" situation. This wasn't just a quiet understanding. The cooperation was deep and extensive. Israel helped train the Shah's infamous secret police. The Savak Israeli agricultural experts helped Iran make its deserts bloom. Most importantly, Iran became Israel's primary oil supplier, a lifeline that was absolutely critical, especially after the oil crises of the 1970s when Arab nations embargoed countries that supported Israel. There were even secret joint military projects. They were so close that Israel maintained a large, permanent delegation in Tehran, which functioned as a de facto embassy. To the outside world, it was an unlikely friendship. But behind the scenes, it was a pragmatic and powerful alliance that served both countries incredibly well for over 2 decades. So, if they were such good friends, what on earth happened? The answer can be summed up in 3 words: the Iranian Revolution. In 1979, everything changed. The pro-Western secular monarchy of the Shah was overthrown. A wave of popular discontent, fueled by economic inequality, political repression, and a deep-seated anger at foreign influence, swept the country. And the man who rode that wave to power was Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a charismatic cleric who had been exiled by the Shah. Khomeini's vision for Iran was the complete opposite of the Shah's. He didn't want a Western-style nation. He envisioned an Islamic republic guided by Sharia Islamic principles that would lead the entire Muslim world. His ideology was built on 2 core pillars: anti-imperialism and Islamic unity. In his eyes, the United States was the great Satan, the ultimate imperialist power meddling in the affairs of other nations, and Israel was the little Satan. Why this specific animosity towards Israel? For Khomeini, Israel wasn't just another country. He saw it as an illegitimate, artificial state, a colonial implant of the West, specifically America, in the heart of the Muslim world. It was a symbol of Western oppression and a direct affront to his vision of a unified Islamic region. Furthermore, the issue of Palestine was a powerful rallying cry. By championing the Palestinian cause and framing Israel as the oppressor of fellow Muslims, Khomeini could position himself and his new Islamic Republic as the true leader and defender of the oppressed, not just in the Middle East, but globally. It was a brilliant political move. It allowed him to export his revolution beyond Iran's borders and challenge the authority of traditional Arab leaders, particularly Saudi Arabia, who he accused of being corrupt and too cozy with the United States. Immediately after the revolution, the shift was dramatic and absolute. One of the first things the new regime did was shut down the Israeli mission in Tehran and hand the keys over to the Palestine Liberation Organization. The PLO, the message was unmistakable. The era of friendship was over. An era of ideological warfare had begun. Iran's national interest was no longer defined by pragmatic alliances against Arab states. It was now defined by a revolutionary Islamic ideology that demanded opposition to Israel. Now, it's important to understand that this wasn't just rhetoric from the 1980s onwards. Iran began to actively build what's often called the axis of resistance. This is a network of state and non-state actors, proxies, and allies across the region who share Iran's goal of challenging Israeli and American influence. The most prominent and powerful of these proxies is Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran helped create, fund, and arm Hezbollah in the early 1980s, following Israel's invasion of Lebanon. Over the decades, Hezbollah has grown into a formidable military and political force, a state within a state on Israel's northern border. It acts as Iran's forward base, a direct threat that keeps the Israeli military occupied and gives Iran a powerful card to play. Then there's Syria. The Assad regime, while secular, has been Iran's staunchest state ally for decades. This alliance provides a crucial land bridge, a corridor that allows Iran to supply Hezbollah and other groups with weapons, funding, and personnel. For Iran, keeping Assad in power during the Syrian civil war was non-negotiable, precisely because losing Syria would mean losing this vital link to Lebanon and its primary proxy. And of course, we have the Palestinian factions, most notably Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza. While these groups are Sunni, not Shia, like Iran, ideology takes a backseat to strategy. Iran provides them with money, weapons, and training, all with the aim of bogging Israel down in a perpetual conflict on another front. It's a strategy of 1,000 cuts, designed to bleed Israel's resources, create constant instability, and prevent it from ever feeling secure. So when you see conflicts flare up in Lebanon, Syria, or Gaza, it's often not just a local issue. You have to look at the bigger picture and see Iran's hand pulling the strings from behind the scenes, using these proxy groups to wage a long-term, low-cost war against its adversary without having to engage in direct conventional combat. This brings us to the most dangerous element of this entire rivalry, the nuclear program. Iran insists its nuclear program is for peaceful energy purposes only. Israel, the United States, and many Western nations are convinced that Iran is secretly pursuing nuclear weapons. And when you look at the context of everything we've just discussed, you can understand why this is Israel's #1 existential fear. For Israeli leaders, the idea of a regime that openly calls for its destruction, funds terrorist groups on its borders, and actively works to destabilize the region acquiring the ultimate weapon is an unthinkable nightmare. It's a red line that cannot be crossed. This is why Israel has, over the years, allegedly carried out covert operations, cyber attacks like the Stuxnet virus, and assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. It's a shadow war fought to prevent a nuclear one. From Iran's perspective, however, a nuclear capability then, if not a fully assembled bomb, is the ultimate insurance policy. They look at what happened to Iraq and Libya, countries that gave up their weapons of mass destruction programs and were later invaded or overthrown. They see a nuclear deterrent as the only way to guarantee the survival of their regime against potential attacks from the US or Israel. It gives them leverage, prestige, and a seat at the big table. So, while for Israel, it's an existential threat, for Iran, it's an existential guarantee. So where does this leave us today? The rivalry between Iran and Israel is not just a simple conflict between two countries. It's a clash of civilizations, a battle of ideologies, and a complex chess game played with proxies, sanctions, and secrets. It has evolved from a practical friendship to a cold war that defines the entire Middle East. The story is not black and white. It's not a simple case of good versus evil. It's a tangled web of history, religion, and strategic ambition. The Shah's secular, pro-Western Iran was Israel's friend. Khomeini's revolutionary, Islamic Iran became its sworn enemy. The core identity of the Iranian state changed, and with it, its entire foreign policy, understanding this history, this story of the alliance that was, and the revolution that shattered IT is the only way to truly comprehend why Iranist leaders say what they say and do what they do. It's not just empty threats. It's a core component of their revolutionary identity and their grand strategy for the region. And that is the history that almost nobody explains. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this explanation helpful, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into complex topics, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.